Hello, my name is Drake Andrews.
Hello, my name's Gianna Ihoma.
Hi, my name is Romeo Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Weston Walminster.
Meta began in 2004 as a college social networking site and quickly expanded into one of the largest tech companies in the world. Over time, the company grew by acquiring major platforms like Instagram, WhatsApp, and Oculus. In 2021, it rebranded as Meta to reflect its shift toward VR, AR, and metaverse technology. Today, Meta serves billions of users globally and operates across multiple digital ecosystems. Meta's core purpose is to connect people through communication platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. The company creates value by offering global connectivity, digital advertising systems, and tools that support creators and businesses. Its mission is to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. This purpose guides both its software and hardware innovations, including developments in VR and AR. Meta's value creation system starts with inputs like a highly skilled workforce, advanced data centers, AI models, and global user networks. These resources move through processes such as platform development, algorithm training, and content moderation. The result is a suite of social platforms, communication tools, and immersive VR AR products. All of this occurs within a competitive, fast changing environment shaped by rivals, regulation, and technological advances. Meta faces several challenges that impact its growth and stability. These include intense competition from platforms like TikTok, increasing regulatory pressure, and privacy and antitrust, and public concerns about misinformation and mental health. The company also invests heavily in metaverse development, which comes with high financial risk. In addition, coordinating a large and complex organizational structure creates internal design challenges. Meta evaluates performance using key metrics such as daily and monthly active users, advertising revenue, and profit margins. The company also tracks the success of its VR AR initiatives as part of its long term strategy. Recent restructuring efforts, referred to as the Year of Efficiency, improved operational focus and reduced costs. Meta uses real time data monitoring to maintain control, drive innovation, and stay competitive. Meta uses a shared language built around ideas like community, connection, innovation, and safety. Leadership frequently uses phrases such as move fast and focus on impact to reinforce expectations. The company's internal stories, from its Harvard origins to major acquisitions and its shift toward the metaverse, help shape how employees view its identity and direction. These narratives strengthen cohesion and keep employees aligned with the organization's goals.
So, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Meta's employee socialization. So, Meta onboards employees through its structured training programs, including engineering bootcamp, manager workshops, and culture sessions that basically explain what Meta's expectations and values are. And the company encourages learning through internal courses and mentorship so that the employees get comfortable with this fast moving environment. These programs are meant to help employees understand collaboration norms and prepare them for rapid changes in products and priorities. So, what are some of Meta's beliefs and values? So, Meta promotes values like openness, creativity, and long term thinking, which influence how teams share information and collaborate. Employees are often encouraged to question assumptions and test new ideas, which shapes a mindset focused on continuous improvement. So Meta just really has this emphasis on community and global connection, where they can have their internal trainings so that we have continuous improvement throughout the company on all levels. So let's take a little look at Meta's organizational culture and have an assessment on that. Meta's culture is innovative and fast-paced, which benefits the company by keeping products competitive, but will also create pressure that can lead to burnout of the team members on the Meta team. The openness and communication helps teams solve problems quickly, although constant changes sometimes cause confusion in priorities. Improving culture could involve clear work-life balance, guidelines and more transparent decision making around large strategic shifts. With all companies, we have something called social responsibility. So let's talk a little bit about Meta's social responsibility. So Meta publishes a formal social responsibility report that focuses on privacy, sustainability, content, safety, and responsible AI development. They implement media stories to point out both improvements and ongoing concerns with issues about misinformation, election integrity, and youth mental health. So Meta is really just focusing on a lot of these privacy when it comes to their platforms. The company invests in research grants and safety programs to show commitment, although progress is watched closely by regulators and the public. With giant companies such as Meta, it's very hard for them to get away with what people consider good social responsibility. And especially with a lot of eyes on Meta, that's why they're very open about what they do. So let's look at the nature of change for Meta. Meta has experienced both evolutionary and revolutionary change, but the metaverse transition represents one of its most dramatic shifts in direction. Evolutionary updates include steady platform improvements, while revolutionary efforts involve new technology ecosystems such as VR and AI integration, which especially in our current age is probably the biggest efforts and involvement, especially with AI integration. These changes reflect leadership's attempt to move beyond social media and shape the future of digital interaction. So they're looking to maybe grow and expand into new areas that you may have not considered Meta being the leader for. Let's look at Meta's type of change and success. So Meta has gone through restructuring, including reorganizing teams around AI metaverse products and integrity operations. Some changes have been successful, like ad system improvement, while others, such as the metaverse hardware adoption, have been slower than expected. Such success varies depending on user acceptance, regulation, and the company's ability to execute long-term strategies. So a lot of their success, especially with their new age technology and advancements, can only be considered success if regulatory agents, us as clients, see it as long-term sustainable practices that are beneficial.
All right, now we're going to look at Meta's change analysis. With their internal forces, they have a need to diversify beyond Facebook's aging user base. They also have a desire to innovate beyond social media, with that looking into VR, virtual reality, and augmented reality investments. They also have pressure to improve data privacy practices, and they have a culture change after the whistleblower controversies. With external forces, they're having a lot of competition from TikTok, Snapchat, and AI driven platforms. They also face a lot of government regulation and antitrust scrutiny. There's also a shift in consumer behavior toward short form video and immersive tech. There's also a decline in ad revenue and economic pressures, and there's also, of course, technological advancements with AI, VP, and AR. With obstacles to change, there's a lot of public distrust following data privacy scandals. Also, employee resistance is high to the metaverse first strategy. There's also a lot of high costs associated with AR and VR. There's also an uncertain market adoption for the metaverse. There's regulatory barriers limiting product expansion, and there's cultural inertia in a company built primarily on social media. For strategy for change, I think they should rebrand from Facebook to Meta to signal future direction. They also should place a heavy investment in Reality Labs, VR and AR, and the metaverse tech. They also need to restructure their whole organization to make Meta leaner. And they need to increase their focus on AI, especially generative AI and recommendation systems. They also really need to focus on doubling down on Reels to compete with TikTok and reduce costs via layoffs and efficiency measures. Now, looking into the organizational life cycle of Meta, Facebook was founded in 2004 by Mark Zuckerberg with the help from his fellow Harvard students. He saw this as an original opportunity to connect with college students through an online social media network. And this eventually expanded globally as a public social networking site. And it was built to exploit the early social media boom and create online identity networks. For some of Meta's growth and challenges, for their first growth stage, this was where creativity led to leadership crisis. So there's a rapid expansion of Facebook, and this is where Mark Zuckerberg formally took the role of CEO. Within their second stage, this led from direction to an autonomy crisis. The company professionalized, and this is when Sheryl Sandberg joined as their COO. But tension rise over centralization versus innovation. With their third growth stage, this dealt with delegation, which led to control crisis. With the rapid global expansion of Facebook, this led to coordination issues. There was data management, and moderation became major challenges for Facebook. The final growth stage dealt with coordination and red tape crises. This is when bureaucracy increased and this slowed down decision making, and scandals exposed operation inefficiencies. So now I want to talk about how managers responded to this. There was major restructuring that took place. They hired new executives in security, trust, and safety, and they tightened internal controls and reduced complexity. For the current stage and problems of Meta's current stage is mature but reinventing and a renewal stage. Their internal problems is really dealing with employee morale after layoffs, balancing innovation like AI and metaverse with profitable products, and having an organizational identity shift from social media to tech conglomerate. For external problems, there's intense competition for younger users. There's also AI competition with OpenAI and Google. And there's global regulatory pressure from the EU and US antitrust. Some of the managerial responses include leaner structure and efficiency focus, investment in AI and generative models, continued push into the virtual and augmented reality, but with more caution, and reprioritization with AI becoming a bigger focus than the metaverse. Now, for their decline and turnaround, some symptoms of decline for Meta is their stagnation in Facebook user growth, also just their slowdown in advertisement, their Manner trust decline after the Cambridge Analytica, and their stock crash in 22 after Reality Lab losses. Their managerial response to this was in 2023. They had a year of efficiency with large layoffs and a lot of cutting costs. They shifted back toward profitable products such as ads and AI. They made better content moderation and data privacy improvements, and they focused more on XR and VR development strategy. The outcome of this was the stock was recovered significantly by 2024, and the company stabilized and regained strategic clarity. Finally, I'll be looking into the forces and obstacles to change. For their forces for innovation and change, they have competitive pressure in AI and immersive tech. They have a rising demand for short-form videos like their Reels. They have a desire to create next-generation platforms beyond social media. There's also a lot of opportunities in virtual reality, augmented reality, and spatial computing. And there's also a real big need to differentiate themselves from TikTok and YouTube. For obstacles for innovation, there's a lot of market uncertainty around the metaverse and adopting that. There's extremely high R&D costs with VR and AR. And then there's internal pushback and layoffs, reducing risk taking. There's also legal restrictions, privacy with privacy, data protection, and antitrust. There's, of course, public skepticism about Meta's true intentions. And lastly, there's a difficulty in balancing innovation with profit generation.
So on this slide, we're going to be covering the types of innovation that Facebook or Meta does more. As you can see, I listed out both. They do quite a bit of both, but obviously the incremental innovations is a lot more of their speed. What they're doing, they're always typically updating their algorithms to make sure, that you're getting the content that you really want to see. As well as security updates. Obviously, since COVID and since a lot of kind of untrust has been taking place with these huge, massive companies, because they're really taking a lot of your data. A lot of security updates are required to make sure that your data is being secure and they're not sharing it to other resources. Obviously, misinformation detection. This happened a lot in 2020, where there's a lot of misinformation going around, and Facebook kind of updated their algorithms to make sure that you weren't getting information that was incorrect. Obviously, now you have the updated interface between Facebook and Instagram. They're now interconnected. So I don't know if you've seen the updates. If you ever seen a post on Instagram, you're also getting that post on Facebook as well. You're getting updates from both. And then obviously targeted advertising updates. They always update these algorithms to get you content that you think that you would want. But in terms of quantum innovations, Facebook has dumped a ton of money into Meta Reality Labs. Obviously, these labs are all based in the multiverse, quote unquote. They're kind of building their own separate multiverse that they really see as the future of the company. You obviously have the Quest VR headsets, the virtual reality. You see a lot of people walking around with these headsets. They're fun to play with, but that was really a big quantum innovation that they jumped to. You have the AR smart glasses, so you see people recording things with these glasses, and you can't really tell that you're being recorded. And then the Llama chat models that they have as well that you could kind of interact with. It's kind of a version of their ChatGPT. So like I said at the beginning, incremental innovations has definitely been the main focus, but they do both. But incremental, they're always innovating in terms of that, always updating their algorithms, always making sure that they're getting the best content to the specific user that they're focusing on. So feeding off what I just talked about in the last slides about quantum innovation and what they really focus on. Here I'm just talking about how Facebook manages innovation, because a lot of these big tech companies have not a problem, but they're always chasing the next big thing. And so one big thing that Facebook or Meta kind of invest in is their R&D department. They invest very heavily in their R&D. Obviously, with Meta, invested nearly $30 billion of R&D in 2023. They plan to invest another $600 billion into data centers across the United States, which is a massive number. They are really focused on AI, as are most technology or tech based companies, because they see it as the future, and really a lot of people in the United States see it as the future of the economy, just like the tech revolution was when we were falling behind in Japan. They also have internal innovation. They always are reinvesting in their algorithms, as well as their Meta AI program. and continuously investing in their algorithms for Facebook, for Instagram, making sure that you're getting the content that you want. TikTok with their algorithm is very specific. It's built to show you what you want to see, and Facebook and Instagram with Instagram Reels and things like that are kind of backtracking a little bit, but they're starting to catch up, and they're trying to kind of close that gap that they have between TikTok. And then the culture of innovation. Obviously, in these tech companies, you always want to encourage risk-taking. You want to encourage thinking from the bottom up. And that's what Facebook has done a really good job of. So they're always kind of incentivizing their employees to take risk, to learn more about AI, to learn more about the tech world, to see if they can gain kind of a competitive advantage against their competitors. So, as you would expect at any multi-billion, or I guess Meta is a trillion-dollar company, there are obviously going to be sources of conflict, both internal, external, and for the stakeholders. In this slide, I'm just looking at all of the different ones and kind of explaining them. So, one major internal conflict has been the amount of money that the executives want to invest in Reality Labs, or Meta and AI. It's a lot of money, right? They lost $40 billion in Reality Labs, and yes, you could say Facebook makes $1 trillion a year. $40 billion isn't really that much, but yeah, it is a vast number. It's massive. So, obviously, the executive team wants to get this down for the stakeholders and the shareholders, but the employees are also getting frustrated because they think it's a waste of resources as well. Then you have the AI division getting a ton of attention rather than things like that really drive the revenue for Facebook or Meta, which is Instagram and Facebook. I mean, those are the main drivers of revenue for this company. AI is going to be the future, but you got to kind of hedge your bets a little bit and make sure you're not leaving other departments behind. And then you have a ton of layoffs and turnover within the company since 2023. Again, that's kind of because of a difference in the future of the company and what people believe is going to be the main driver of revenue between the executives of the company, guys like Mark Zuckerberg, compared to the employees and the managers of the company. So that's a big internal conflict. Of course, external conflicts. You've seen Mark Zuckerberg go to Congress multiple times to testify. You have regulatory laws from the government, making sure that they're not taking information, selling it to people like in China. You also have political investigations, targeting, things of that nature for any company like this. Twitter, TikTok. This is going to happen to any major company like this that is collecting a ton of data from their websites and from the apps that they produce. And then you have stakeholder conflicts. You have, targeted advertising versus new internal policies on potential advertising aimed at children. That was a very specific and kind of recent thing that had just happened, or issue that just happened. You have laws, obviously, that are there to protect children from different companies kind of forcing a view upon them, which is what we see a lot with TikTok as well as Facebook. And then, like I mentioned before, the personal data issue. People don't want their personal data going out on the web. Facebook and Instagram and Meta use a lot of that interfacing to make the app better for you, but also to collect data on you to sell to companies to create more targeted advertising. So a lot of these conflicts are based around the collecting of personal data, the external conflicts with the government, as well as the stakeholder conflicts. Internally, it's a lot more personal than that. It's just because they're spending so much money on AI, which is understandable, but if other departments are getting left behind, it's kind of difficult. So the power analysis of Facebook. this is there are major differences between these two. Obviously, being the first thing that I mentioned here, the first and most powerful or subunit of Facebook would be Instagram and Facebook in their advertising division. Whatever company is getting a majority of revenue, in this case 98% of Meta's total revenue is coming from this division, they obviously have a lot to say over revenue decisions. They are creating the most value for this company that is a $1 trillion company, so they should get the say. Secondly, you have Meta. This is what's eating a lot of their R&D right now. Meta's obviously, you're looking at $40 billion in losses. You're also looking at $600 billion worth of investments coming up for data centers. So Meta would definitely be kind of the second subunit. Third, you have Reality Labs. This is taking up a lot of significant investments from the revenue they're reinvesting in for Reality Labs. And then you have Trusted Safety. This is just kind of building outreach and trust from different subunits or different subgroups of people that have found Facebook to be untrustworthy. Things like the government, different groups that think that Facebook is targeting children, things of that nature, just trying to build outreach. So these would be the four major subunits, but obviously the biggest one would be Facebook and Instagram, the physical apps, and the advertising division, because it just generates all of their money and all of their revenue. So here we're going to be talking about the influence of powerful subunits. I kind of went over it on the last slide, but by far the most powerful Facebook subunit is the advertising division. Why it's the most powerful? Generates 98% of the revenue for Facebook. So it kind of goes unsaid. If a part or subdivision of your company is generating that much revenue, they should obviously get the biggest say. It just makes sense. And then what they do with this power that they get within the company is influencing product decisions across Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, three most revenue generating apps for them. Pretty much just seeing how they can better themselves in terms of targeted advertising for different subgroups of people. How it does this: personal advertising across Facebook and Instagram. Whenever you see a personalized ad targeted for you, that's a part of it. They increase user engagement through building different algorithms to focus more on what you like. It could be anything from being conservative to a liberal to being a sports fan to being a wine fan. Anything. They'll find out what you like and send products your way that they think that you would find more attractive to buy. And then thirdly, the products that they're pushing, they're just increasing the amount of people that are interacting with Facebook. So, yeah. And lastly, the impacts of conflicts in politics. This is kind of plagued the tech world. Not plagued, but it has a huge impact of what they've done over the future. There have been major differences and changes over the past couple of years, ever since COVID, ever since there's so much quote misinformation. You have, shadow banning, you have banning of people, major political influences. So things of that nature. You have internal conflicts, internal debates over where the company should focus. Should it be AI focused? Should it be metaverse focused? There's been a lot of internal. Engineering teams are arguing with leadership teams over the metaverse. Engineers are saying that it's not possible, but the leadership teams want them to push and to create something different. Instagram versus Facebook, kind of having differences all over how the app should be run. Then political, you have cancel culture, people kind of pushing against free speech, which these are supposed to be hubs of free speech. Multiple legal battles with the government, with different subgroups. And then you have data privacy laws. The outcome, Facebook spends a lot of time reacting and changing ways of the world rather than strategizing for the future. They're always on their back foot. The innovation is kind of slowed when you have all these internal and external conflicts. And then the political landscape makes it hard to focus on profit because there's so much responsibility and safety within the tech world. That's pretty obvious and self-apparent.